This video is now in session. We have another retirement to announce. Alabama Senator, Senior Senator Richard Shelby will not seek re-election in his 2022 election race. At least his seat is up in 2022, and he will not be running for another term. He has served on the Senate for 7 terms. He is retiring in 2022. So, as a result, let's talk about the U.S. Senate once again, because it's changing every single day. So, Richard Shelby, with his retirement, it's honestly the less surprising ones, because he's been on the Senate for such a long time. 42 years on the Senate, that's a very long time. So, as a result, he'll be the 4th Republican senator to retire in the 2022 U.S. Senate map, and that's pretty indicative of how how Republicans are going in the U.S. Senate. Not that good. Now, Alabama, it's a much safer Alabama is a much safer place for a Republican to retire rather than places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, or North Carolina. But Doug Jones could certainly try in 2022 in the U.S. Senate. I doubt he will, because he most likely is not. He's most likely not going to be able to win. First of all, and second, he most likely does not want to do that. So I still characterize this seat as a safe Republican state, but this opens up to more potential retirements that could occur. So far, we have 4 senators that are retiring: Ohio, Pennsylvania. Ohio's Rob Portman, Pennsylvania Pat Toomey, North Carolina Richard Burr, and Alabama Richard Shelby. So, the reason why I have these 3 states shaded is because, this should be 4 states. The reason why I have 4 of these states shaded is because these senators can also retire. They have a chance of actually retiring. Now, obviously, as of this moment, for some of these races, it's either been undeclared or they are running, but, and I'll update that. I think, Missouri, the senator is definitely running for re-election. If we look here, Roy Blunt's definitely running for re-election. So that one, I think that one will be shaded as a solid Republican or a safe Republican, because Missouri has shifted to the right so many elections now. So I can classify it as a safe race. Now, obviously, this safe race could go back to likely, depending on which Democratic politician runs against Roy Blunt, but I honestly don't think this seat will be that competitive. But Iowa and Wisconsin, as well as Vermont, these 3 seats, if the senators retire, then that opens up a competitive race to the other side. So if we look at the Senate ratings, here we have Iowa as safe, I believe. Iowa has Grassley, and then Chuck Grassley, who is the oldest senator, I believe, in this of all the 100 senators. And then we have Vermont. We have Patrick Leahy, who is the 2nd oldest senator behind Chuck Grassley. And then finally we have Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who has indicated that he would retire, but he walked back those statements, and he hasn't declared yet whether he's going to run for re-election or retire. So let's assume that all of these 3 races will retire, or all of these senators will retire. That shifts the political dynamics a lot for the Senate races. So let me take out all of that and characterize all of these. So Alabama, I think that's going to still stay Republican. So let's start from the north. Vermont. What happens if Patrick Leahy retires? Well, I still think this seat will start off as safe Democratic, but it all depends on if one person runs for the Vermont Senate, whether the governor of Vermont, who is a Republican, Phil Scott. If he runs for the 2022 Senate election in Vermont, and a very poor Democrat runs to replace Senator Leahy in Vermont, then I think this seat could go to, at best for Republicans, lean Democratic. I don't think that even with Phil Scott, who is the governor of Vermont, even if he does run, I don't think it will still amount to anything, because running a state is much more different than debating in the U.S. Capitol. So I still think Democrats will have the seat even if Patrick Leahy retires. So now we have 5 states left, and these, I think the retirements, if Wisconsin and Iowa, if these senators retire, that's going to be good for Democrats, especially Wisconsin. And then with these 3 retirements, it's good for Democrats. So these 3 seats already been retired. I would characterize Pennsylvania as tilt Democratic, and then North Carolina as tilt Republican. And then finally, I characterize Ohio as lean Republican. The reason why I put it as lean Republican is because Tim Ryan is almost definitely going to run for the Ohio Senate. I don't think he has officially gotten into this race, but he has an announcement is pending. So I do think that Ohio will be lean Republican. Tim Ryan is a moderate Democrat, and he is pretty well liked by people in Ohio, so that's going to be good for Democrats. It just depends on which Republican runs. Jim Jordan signaled that he's not going to run in the 2022 U.S. Senate, so that's going to be worse for Democrats, but nonetheless, a retirement by Rob Portman is good in the first place for Democrats. Now we finally have these 2 seats. What happens if Chuck Grassley retires? I think this seat will go to between a lean and a likely for Republicans. I still put this race as likely Republican, even if Chuck Grassley is running again, because Democrats can say how much Chuck Grassley has aged. But if he retires, I think I would put this as lean Republican. And Democrats lost in Iowa in 2020 and got a likely characterization instead of for Republicans instead of a lean, but that's because Donald Trump was on the ticket. In 2022, Donald Trump is not going to be on the ticket no matter what happens. So as a result, I think Iowa will be more competitive for Democrats. That said, I don't think Democrats are going to focus on Iowa that much, even if Chuck Grassley retires, primarily because of what happened in 2020 and 2016. And Iowa is just viewed as not a particularly important race. Presidentially speaking, it can be competitive, but it's not that important. It's 6 electoral votes. In the congressional races, it could be competitive, but in some cases it's not competitive. There's only one congressional seat that's usually competitive, that being Iowa's 2nd district. Iowa's 3rd district could sometimes be competitive. And then if we look at the Senate, Joni Ernst proved how Iowa is less competitive for Democrats than it has in the past several decades. So as a result, Democrats will most likely not going to focus on this. Now, finally, Ron Johnson. What happens if Ron Johnson retires? That would most likely be the best thing for Democrats in this Senate map, because this is a prime seat for pickup. Right now, Cook Political Report targets Johnson as a lean Republican's position, which means that he's going to get 1 to 5 percentage points in terms of a win for him. Now, if he retires, this is like before he retires, by the way. If he does retire, this will automatically go to the toss-up category, and that's good for Democrats because they need as many pickups as possible. They only have 50 seats right now, so exact even in the Senate. And while they are while they are the favorite to pick up in Pennsylvania, that's only 1 seat. That means Joe Manchin will no longer be the most prominent Democrat, but instead Kirsten Sinema would be the most prominent Democrat. Now, the difference, you may think it's big because Joe Manchin is known for being a conservative Democrat, but Kirsten Sinema is also a conservative Democrat. So if Democrats want to get more of their stuff passed, more, I guess, liberal of their liberal agenda passed, then they need two pickups so that so that the, I guess, most consequential senator would no longer be Joe Manchin or Kirsten Sinema, but instead a more Democratic senator, a Democratic senator who votes with Trump less than a majority, because Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, they vote with Trump more than they vote against Trump. Now, it's only a difference by like 0.4% in terms of their voting record, but nonetheless, they still vote for Trump more than they vote against him. If Ron Johnson retires, then it's up to the Democratic candidate, whoever is chosen, as to how this race would go. So if Ron Johnson retires, I would target the seat as either tilt Republican or tilt Democratic. It's very hard to say for this one, so I'll put it as a complete toss-up. Pennsylvania leans more Democratic than Wisconsin, but so that's why I give Pennsylvania a tilt characterization. And with Pennsylvania, we have now learned that John Fetterman, who is currently the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, will be running running for the Senate election in Pennsylvania, and that's important for Democrats because it really helps them. John Fetterman is incredibly popular in his state. He associates himself as a union worker, and he was able to win with Tom Wolf as the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania by double digits in 2018 and in the case of Tom Wolf, 2014, but John Fetterman came on 2018. So with that, if John Fetterman gets the nomination, then I would push Pennsylvania to lean Democratic territory instead of tilt. But for now, I'm going to stay as tilt. So this is the characterization that I have. If the senators that I think are going to retire do retire, so this is the map right here. But in terms of my characterization as of now, I'd put Wisconsin as lean Republican, Iowa as likely, and then Vermont as safe. So here is my characterization as of now. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.